In a world that is largely self-centered and incredibly self-absorbed, it is definitely possible to raise kind and selfless children, but I believe it takes intentional efforts. I'd like to share a few ways that I have been able to raise kind kids. When I work in my greenhouse, I plant seeds and I always know what type of plant each seed will grow. It's not a surprise. Every book, movie, and video game your child plays plants seeds, and especially if nourished by more of those kinds of books, movies, and video games, the seeds planted will grow. If your child is exposed to books and media that contain violence, disrespect, and self-centeredness, that is what is encouraged to grow. Studies show that violent games, videos, and media can negatively impact kindness by decreasing empathy. When a child plays video games that repeatedly encourage smashing things, crashing into things, blowing things up, shooting things, and punching things, it absolutely impacts the child's developing brain and their character in a detrimental way. It desensitizes them to violence. And it doesn't matter if the violence is in cartoon form or not. Also, when children read books in which characters are disrespectful and self-absorbed, it undoubtedly affects them negatively. And if they have a diet of these kind of books, it will fundamentally shape their characters in an unfavorable way. Children absolutely model what they see in books and media by imitating behaviors and attitudes portrayed by characters they watch or read about. But it's not about just keeping the harmful media and books away from children. I have found it so effective to not just help my family avoid books and media that are violent or disrespectful, but to teach them to personally understand, discern, and desire this for their own lives. I do this in a few ways. The homeschool curriculum we use, The Good and the Beautiful, teaches kids in their language arts courses to understand how books and media impact them, and to love and to choose for themselves books that uplift and inspire. I also talk to them often about the books I am reading and how they impact me. And I read good books to my kids and have discussions with them about what we are reading. The second way to raise kind kids is to do kind things for them. Leave them notes of appreciation and love, or give them a warm foot bath when they've had a hard day. I have seen my kids model the kind of things I have done for them countless times. Modeling is a powerful way of teaching. Another super effective way to raise kind kids is to take them with you to serve other people. This is so important in today's world. If you are not doing this, I'm so excited for you to try this out, because if you serve consistently, especially over a long period of time, it will have a profound effect on your children, particularly if you do it out of a spirit of love and gratitude and not forced duty. Before my grandfather died, for years, I took my children on a 3-hour round-trip drive to visit my lonely widowed grandpa every week. In the car, we would talk about how wonderful it was to visit lonely people. I would talk to my kids about what they could do to serve him when we got there. They prepared songs to sing and drew pictures to bring to him. They definitely felt how important it was to visit lonely people. One day, as we were driving home after we had been doing this weekly for years, I had a very powerful spiritual experience. The words came into my mind: because of your example of kindness to your grandfather, your kids will one day visit you and care for you too in your old age. And I knew that was true. It can be so easy to get caught up in our busy lives with sports practice, music lessons, homework, and so on. But I believe that none of these will serve your children as well as taking time to do service with them. There are some free apps out there you can use to find service opportunities in your area. I think it's important to serve 3 types of people: your family, your own community, and people far from you who do not have anyone to help them in their dire need. Every year, I try to make sure that my kids and I do all of these things. So we work to save money to sponsor a child in need, or to buy a goat or something useful for a family far away from us. We look for opportunities to serve either in our extended family or neighborhood or our church and community, and I try to encourage them to serve their immediate family. You might not easily identify who around you is in most need, but if you start praying and paying attention, you will actually find so many people in need spiritually, emotionally, socially, and physically, and you will be inspired with ways to help. Number 3, it can really help to react to our children's mistakes with kindness. Again, the way we would want them to treat us. For example, how do you want your child to react when you do something you shouldn't? Do you want them to yell at you, lecture you, get mad and stomp around? I remember a time when one of my boys, behind my back, ripped open a bag of chocolates that were on the counter and took out a few and ran off, thinking I didn't see. He isn't allowed, obviously, to take treats without asking, but it was especially upsetting because that was a gift for a neighbor. But instead of yelling or getting mad or even punishing the child, I called him in and gently and kindly explained that he needs to always ask before taking a treat, and that those were for a neighbor, and how now we couldn't use that as a gift since the bag was ripped open. He felt really bad, and I asked him for a hug. I told him I loved him, and he said he wouldn't do it again. And I hugged him again and thanked him for listening and for caring. He really did learn the lesson he needed to learn that day. And if the same behavior repeated, we would set up a plan for further teaching or consequences. But so often, reacting to our kids with kindness and tenderness will teach them to react to other people with patience and kindness as well. One last idea is being careful about the way you talk about other people. The Bible teaches us to love our enemies. How do we talk about other people, even those that we don't like, such as rival sports teams or those we disagree with on social or political issues? We should always avoid sarcasm and rudeness and gossip, and try to point out the good in other people as often as we can. Our kids will definitely pick up on those things and will tend to model our actions. So I hope these ideas were helpful. I've actually linked in the description below my suggested top 3 read aloud books for families that have an underlying message of kindness. This could be a great place for you to grow a more intentional plan to raise kind kids.